You are already in a conflict. Right now. Not a war, not a fight with fists. Something quieter than that. A negotiation you haven't started yet. A relationship that has shifted. A room where someone is positioning against you and you don't know how to respond. So you wait, you think, you prepare your argument, your defense, your countermove. And here is the thing, nobody will tell you. By the time you are preparing your response, the conflict is already over. You lost the moment you entered it. Not because you were weak, not because your argument was wrong, because you are fighting on someone else's ground, in someone else's timeline, by someone else's rules, and you never even noticed. Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War 2,500 years ago, a military manual studied by every general, every strategist, every emperor who ever wanted to hold territory and keep it. But buried inside the most famous strategy text in human history is a principle so precise, so cold, so counterintuitive that most people read right past it. They read about warfare and miss the hidden law. The law that says the battle is not won by the fighter who is strongest. It is won by the thinker who already finished the battle before the other person knew it had begun. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because what comes next will change how you see every conflict you are standing inside right now. Stay. Let me tell you about a battle that was decided before a single soldier moved. The year is 500 BC. Sun Tzu is the general of the state of Wu. The king of Wu has doubted him for years, considered him a theorist, a philosopher with a book, not a man of war. To prove his capability, Sun Tzu asks to train the king's palace concubines as an act of strategic demonstration. The king laughs. He agrees. Sun Tzu divides them into two companies, appoints the king's two favorite concubines as commanders, gives clear, simple instructions. And the women laugh. They do not follow orders. They perform for the king, who is watching with amusement. Sun Tzu repeats the instruction, clear, calm, precise. The women laugh again. Sun Tzu executes the two commanders, the king's two favorite concubines. The laughter stops. New commanders are appointed. The instructions are given a third time. Every woman moves in perfect formation, silent, disciplined, precise. The king is no longer laughing. And Sun Tzu says this: the general who hesitates in enforcement will never command the army that can win the war. That story is not about cruelty. It is not about military discipline. It is about a man who understood something that the king did not. The conflict with the concubines was never about the concubines. It was about who controlled the frame, who defined what was happening, who decided the rules of the interaction and enforced them before the other party had time to build an alternative. Sun Tzu won that conflict, not with violence, not with rank, not with any visible display of force. He won it by controlling the definition of what was possible inside the room. The women never had a choice to disobey again, not because he threatened them after, because he removed the possibility of disobedience before it could be performed a second time. That is the hidden law. Control the terrain before the battle is declared.
Now, let me bring it into the world you actually live in. You are in a job interview. You prepare your answers, you practice your delivery, you anticipate the questions, and you walk into the room on their ground, on their timeline, by their framework of evaluation, and you perform. This is the reactive position, the position of the person who enters the conflict after it has already been designed by someone else. The strategic person does something different before they ever walk through the door. They research the specific person interviewing them, the company's current challenge, the gap between where the company is and where it says it wants to go. And they enter the room not to answer questions, to ask one. Based on what you're building toward, I wanted to ask about the specific gap between your current position and that target. The frame shifts. They are no longer the interviewee. They are a strategic partner evaluating whether the company deserves their capability. The conflict, the evaluation, was redefined before the interviewer asked a single question. That is not confidence. That is pre-positioning, and it is the single most powerful move available in any conflict, at any level, in any domain of your life.
Think about the last relationship where someone had leverage over you. Not physical leverage, emotional leverage. They knew what you wanted. They knew how much you wanted it. And they used that knowledge as a calibration instrument to determine exactly how much they needed to give to keep you exactly where they needed you. The leverage they held was not built during the conflict. It was built during the peace. In the long stretch of ordinary time, before anything looked like a conflict at all, they watched. They learned what mattered to you. They positioned themselves between you and what mattered. And by the time the leverage was applied, the conflict was already over. You were already negotiating from inside a prison you helped build. The reactive person discovers this when the leverage is used. By then, the only options available are the options the other person left open. The strategic person asks one question early, before the warmth of the relationship has created the dependencies that the leverage requires. What am I building here that I could not rebuild elsewhere? If the answer is nothing, then no leverage can be created. If the answer is something specific and irreplaceable, then the strategic work is to diversify before that thing becomes a chain. Sun Tzu called this knowing the field before you stand on it. You do not evaluate the terrain from inside the battle. You evaluate it before you decide to enter. Here is the mechanism behind every conflict you have ever lost without understanding why. Conflict is not about force. Conflict is about information asymmetry. The person who holds more accurate information about the terrain, about the other party's needs and fears, about the timeline of the interaction, about what is actually at stake, that person does not fight harder. They know more. And knowing more is not intelligence. It is preparation. It is the specific, deliberate, pre-conflict investment in understanding the room you are about to enter. Most people prepare for the conflict by preparing their argument, their case, their position, their defense. The strategic person prepares for the conflict by understanding the other party's position more accurately than the other party does. When you understand what someone actually needs, you can design an interaction where the outcome you require is the path of least resistance for them. That is not manipulation. That is the architecture of the outcome before the interaction begins. Sun Tzu: if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. He was not describing battle strategy. He was describing information architecture. The person who walks into any conflict with accurate information about both parties does not fight, they direct. Because when you understand both positions, you can design the path that produces your outcome while appearing to serve theirs. That is the hidden law. Not force, not argument, precision. 99% of people hearing this will just nod and continue to endure. Only 1% will dare to act. Which group are you in? If you truly want change, comment below, "I do not fight, I direct." Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because what follows is the specific architecture of how to execute this in the conflicts you are facing right now. 5 laws, drawn from the art of war and built for the rooms you walk into today. Law 1. Never enter the ground you did not choose. The warrior who lets the enemy pick the battlefield has already conceded half the war. Sun Tzu was precise about terrain. He classified it into 9 different types of ground, each requiring a different strategic approach. But underneath every classification was one governing principle. The general who chooses the terrain holds the position before the fighting starts. The reactive man enters every conflict on whatever ground the conflict arrives on. The meeting scheduled on someone else's turf. The argument that ignites on the other person's timeline. The negotiation framed by the other party's terms. He is always responding to the terrain he has been given. The strategic man pauses before entering and asks one question: is this my ground? If the answer is no, he does not fight. He delays until the terrain shifts, or until he has had the time to prepare the specific information and positioning that makes foreign ground manageable. In work, the negotiation that arrives urgently on someone else's deadline is almost always timed deliberately. Urgency eliminates your ability to prepare, and the person without preparation is the person without leverage. The strategic response to artificial urgency is not to meet it. It is to name it. I want to give this the attention it deserves. Let me come back to you by your timeline. One sentence. You have just moved the conflict onto your ground, not their deadline, yours. In relationships, the argument that erupts at 11 p.m. when one person is exhausted and the other is not is never an accident. Exhaustion eliminates strategic thinking. The person who initiates the conflict at the moment when the other is most depleted has chosen their terrain. The strategic response is not to engage. I hear this matters. I want to address it properly, not tonight. Retreat is not weakness. Retreat from unfavorable terrain is the same move Sun Tzu's best generals made before every decisive victory. Think about the last conflict you entered because it arrived and you felt you had to respond. What did you lose by fighting on someone else's ground? What might you have gained if you had simply refused the terrain? The pawn moves where the board demands.
The king moves where the king decides. Choose the ground, or do not fight. The general who has no option to withdraw is the general who was outmaneuvered before the battle. But choosing the ground is only half of it. The other half is knowing what you're walking into before you walk into it. That is Law 2. Sun Tzu speaks, "He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight." The second decision is as important as the first. The battlefield you choose not to enter is as strategic as the one you master. Selecting where you do not fight is the beginning of winning every conflict before it starts.
Law 2. Intelligence is the victory. The fighter who knows nothing about the enemy fights twice, once on the battlefield and once in the dark. Before Sun Tzu moved a single soldier, he gathered intelligence. Not intelligence in the modern surveillance sense, the intelligence of deep, specific understanding of what the other party actually needed, actually feared, and actually valued beneath what they said they wanted. Because what people say they want and what they actually need are almost never the same thing. The gap between the two is where every conflict can be resolved before it has to be fought. The reactive man prepares for conflict by preparing his case, his argument, his position, his evidence. He is ready to present. He is rarely ready to listen, because listening would require that he not already know the answer. The strategic man does not prepare his case first. He prepares his understanding of the other party's case. He asks, what do they actually need from this interaction? Not what they are saying, not what their position demands. What, underneath all of it, are they actually trying to protect or acquire? Because the person who can answer that question accurately before the conversation begins has the ability to design an interaction where the other party gets what they actually need and the strategic person gets what they actually want. Nobody fought. Both parties received something real, but only one of them designed the interaction. In financial decisions, the negotiator who knows the seller's real timeline, their actual flexibility, their undisclosed motivation for closing quickly, does not negotiate on price. They negotiate on the seller's need. And when you negotiate on someone's need rather than their position, you operate in a space they have not thought to defend, because they were defending their position, not their need. He did not fight the negotiation. He found the opening it was already offering. In social dynamics, the person who understands that the aggression in the room is almost always a form of fear does not meet aggression with counter-aggression. They meet it with the specific precision of someone who has identified what is actually being protected and found a way to address that without triggering the defense. The aggression loses its fuel, not because it was matched, because the fear underneath it was acknowledged and the threat was removed. That is intelligence as a weapon, not information gathering as a passive act. Information gathering as the primary strategic move in every significant interaction you will ever have. Amazon does this at industrial scale. Every product recommendation, every price adjustment, every interface decision is built on the precise intelligence of what each specific customer in each specific moment actually needs before they know they need it. Amazon does not respond to demand. It predicts it. It builds infrastructure for the need before the customer has articulated the need. That is intelligence as the victory, not intelligence as preparation for the victory itself. Know the enemy, know yourself. The victory is already yours. Sun Tzu speaks, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. The 100 battles are already won. In the preparation, in the intelligence,
in the deep, specific, accurate understanding of both parties that exists before either one steps onto the field. Law 3. Formlessness is your most powerful weapon. Water does not fight the rock. It moves around it. And eventually, the rock does not exist. Sun Tzu's most counterintuitive principle, the one most students of strategy skip because it sounds like surrender. It is the opposite. Be formless like water. Water shapes itself to the container and overcomes the hardest stone not through force, but through consistency and the refusal to stop. Formlessness is not weakness. Formlessness is the specific, strategic refusal to give the opponent a fixed shape to target. The reactive man takes a position, announces it, defends it, holds it under pressure long after holding it serves any purpose because abandoning it feels like defeat. He has given his opponent a map, a fixed shape, a target, everything the opponent needs to design the next move against him. The strategic man has no fixed shape. He has a direction, not a position. He moves toward outcomes, not toward the defense of declared territory. If the path closes, he flows around it, not because he does not care about the direction, because he cares about the direction more than the path. The path is not the point. The destination is. In business, the competitor who announces every strategy publicly has given the market and every rival a fixed shape to target. Apple does not announce products until they are ready to sell. The silence before the launch is not secrecy for its own sake. It is formlessness as competitive positioning. You cannot target what you cannot see. You cannot prepare a counter strategy against a product that has not been declared. By the time Apple stepped into the room had already been designed around what they were bringing. That is not launch strategy. That is formlessness deployed at industrial scale. In relationships, the person who declares every feeling, every need, every vulnerability before they understand whether the room can hold those things safely has given the other party a complete map of their interior. And maps, in the wrong hands, become targeting systems. The strategic person shares selectively, not because they are cold, because they understand that what you reveal determines what can be used against you. Not every room has earned your shape. Formlessness is not distance. It is the refusal to become predictable to people who have not yet proven that your predictability is safe with them. Think about the last time someone used something you told them against you. At what point did you give them the map? Now ask, what would formlessness have looked like? Not silence, not distance, the specific, calibrated sharing of what this room had earned and nothing more. Water does not flood everything. It flows where it is needed and holds back where it is not. That is not weakness. That is the most precise form of power available. The general who can be read by the enemy has already been defeated. Sun Tzu speaks, "Be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness. Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness. Thereby you can be the director of the opponent's fate. Not the fighter, the director, the one who designs the conditions. The formless figure is never the target, because there is no shape to aim at." Law 4. Patience is the most aggressive move available. The lion does not chase the gazelle. It waits, in the precise position where the gazelle will eventually arrive. Most people believe patience is passive. They believe waiting is the absence of strategy. They are wrong. Patience, in the framework of Sun Tzu, is not the absence of movement. It is the most aggressive position available to a person who has done the pre-work. The reactive man is impatient, because he is not prepared. He has not done the intelligence work. He has not chosen the ground. He has not built the formless position, and so every moment of delay feels like losing. He rushes, he forces, he engages before the conditions favor him, and he wonders why force never seems to produce the outcomes that the effort should have bought. The strategic man is patient because he has prepared. He knows what he is waiting for. He knows the specific conditions under which the conflict resolves in his favor, and he refuses to engage before those conditions exist. Not because he is afraid, because he has done the calculation, and the calculation says, wait. Sun Tzu won more battles through strategic patience than any other single principle. He understood that the opponent who is not engaged will eventually move, and when they move, they will reveal their position, their weakness, their timeline, their fear. The patient general does not give the opponent information, he gathers it. While the impatient general fights, the patient one learns. And when the patient one finally moves, he moves against a fully understood opponent on chosen ground with complete information at the moment of maximum vulnerability. Not a battle, a conclusion. Marcus Aurelius governed for 19 years under conditions that would have broken most men. Military campaigns he did not choose, political threats he could not eliminate, a body that was consistently failing him. He wrote about it not as suffering to be overcome, but as information to be used. Impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He did not fight the impediments. He waited for them to reveal the path. That is patience as aggression, not the patience of the resigned man, the patience of the man who has already decided that he will outlast every obstacle that cannot be removed directly. What conflict in your life are you rushing because waiting feels like losing? What would patience actually reveal if you stopped pushing long enough to let the other party move first? Sun Tzu would say, move only when the conditions are in your favor. Wait when they are not. The general who fights before the conditions are favorable is already in retreat. The patience is not weakness. It is the accumulation of advantage in silence until the moment when advantage becomes overwhelming. Then move, once, decisively, without announcement.
Law 5. The greatest victory leaves no trace. The best general wins the war, and no one knows a war was fought. This is the pinnacle of Sun Tzu's system, the principle that makes everything else make sense. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Not winning the fight, removing the need for it. The highest expression of strategic intelligence is not the brilliant victory. It is the conflict that was dissolved before it required force. The reactive man is addicted to the visible win. He needs the confrontation, the argument won, the moment where his position is vindicated and the other party concedes. He needs the trace, the evidence that something happened and he was the one who prevailed. But the visible win always comes at a cost. The relationship that was strained, the energy that was spent, the opponent who now knows exactly what you are capable of and will be better prepared next time. The strategic man prefers the invisible victory, the outcome achieved without the confrontation. The conflict dissolved through precision before it could ignite. The resistance removed through understanding before it became opposition. This is not avoidance. This is the application of everything that came before it in this video. You chose the ground. You gathered intelligence. You maintained formlessness. You were patient. And by the time the conflict was supposed to happen, the conditions for it no longer existed.
the other party got what they actually needed. You positioned yourself in the exact place where your outcome was the natural result of their decision. No fight, no visible victory, no trace, and no enemy left standing who knows they were outmaneuvered. That last point matters more than most people realize. The visible victory creates a witness to the defeat. The witness does not forget. The invisible victory creates no witness. The other party often does not know that the outcome was designed. They simply experienced the natural resolution of a situation in a direction that felt right. You did not win, or so it appears. You simply happened to be positioned exactly where the resolution was going to land. That is Sun Tzu's hidden law, in its final, complete form. Win the conflict before it begins by building the conditions under which the conflict resolves in your favor before the conflict is declared.
Here is what you carry out of this video. Not a technique, a framework. Before you enter any significant interaction, any negotiation, any conversation where something real is at stake, ask 5 questions. Whose ground am I entering? What do I actually know about the other party? What fixed shape am I showing that can be targeted? Am I moving because the conditions favor me, or because waiting is uncomfortable? And is there a version of this where the conflict never has to happen? Because the person who can answer those 5 questions before entering any room does not fight. They direct. They design the conditions. They position for the outcome before anyone else has noticed the game has started. That is not luck. That is Sun Tzu's hidden law. And now, you know it. If this changed how you see the conflicts in front of you, go and watch The World is a Chessboard, Be the Player. The 2 videos operate as a system. One teaches you to see the board. This one teaches you to win before you move. Together, they are the full framework. Subscribe. Turn on notifications because the next video goes even deeper. And the deeper you go, the harder it becomes to be outmaneuvered. Progress over perfection.